What's going on, everyone? It's Adam here from the Cruise Company, and today I have a really cool video to show you, and a really cool car actually. We're going to go over our Troopcarrier integrated tow bar rear bar, but also this car, as you can tell, is absolutely massive. This actually has a J-Max coil conversion kit in it, so it's got a 4-inch lift and 35 is all legal. It's pretty cool. We're not affiliated with them in any way. This is a customer's car. I just think it's a cool car. It's got the pop top. It's a work in progress, so he hasn't done anything on the inside yet, but if you want to follow the whole build, check out Mr. 4-Wheel Drive on Instagram, and I'm sure he's going to be doing heaps of content on this thing. But today we're just going to go over this rear bar, which is one of our original tow bars. It's an awesome bar. The aesthetics are amazing. It's got a fully rated tow bar. We're going to do a deep dive into absolutely everything about this rear bar. So if you're thinking of buying it, you're going to know exactly what to expect and what you're getting. My personal opinion, this is the bar for a Troopcarrier. They're not exactly the easiest of cars to build a rear bar for because the mounting solution's a bit hard. It's really long. They're a little bit awkward, but we've been able to get around all of that with this rear bar, and you wouldn't even notice it once it's on. Firstly, let's just take a look at the aesthetics of this thing. It looks unreal. It's super high clearance. It's as high clearance as you can get with a tow bar. All the folds match the body lines of the Troopy, which I think is a very important thing that not many people really do. They try to build a bar that looks cool, but they don't really pay attention to the car that it's going on. So it needs to suit the car, and I feel like this, you see a Troopy with this bar and you just go, that looks right, that looks good. It's all in proportion. It looks sleek, it looks modern, but it's not so modern that you're like, what the hell am I looking at? It's just, to me, this is the ultimate look. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but you tell me, do you like the look of this rear bar or not? I personally just think it looks absolutely grouse. I used to own a Troopy, so I am a little bit about Troopies. I currently own pretty much a 76 series. It's an imported Prado, same thing really. It looks the exact same on the back, it's got the same body, and that has the same style bar, and I think that also looks really cool. It just suits the 70 series really well. All right, so let's get into the specifics of this rear bar now. Obviously this is an incorporated tow bar. This is fully rated for your Troopcarrier, so it's got an official tow rating of 3.5 ton, and it's by far the best and safest design for a tow bar. I can guarantee this can take a lot more. Not that you should put more on it, but it's always best to be over-engineered, especially in times like this, because you never know, like if you're towing a big caravan on a beach or something, there's a lot of pressure going on around here. So obviously a couple of features we got here: spot for your actual tow hitch. The pin can slot in here. There's actually room through there. So I have the exact same tow bar on my Prado. It's a 76 series. And you can slot the pin up on the inside and then in. It's actually very easy to do. Then we have 10mm chain points here. That's actually a recent update we did because we just thought we may as well, because we have 10mm. So then why not just use the 10mm for the chain points, just make it even stronger. Speaking of 10mm, all the mounting here is 10mm back to the chassis. So you can see these spots here. That is the plate that goes straight back to the chassis. We've got this eyelet here. The reason why it's offset is because if we went straight back to the chassis with the eyelet, it's going to interrupt with your lights and there's just no good spot for it. So basically the tow bar, which is a one piece of SHS that goes all the way through, if you didn't know, it's the one bit that goes all the way through. So that one bit then sits inside of the cradle of 10mm, and then we have this welded on the outside of it there, but then also on the face of the bar. So this is incredibly strong. The tow bar is incredibly strong. There really isn't, not that I've seen, a stronger way of making a tow bar. The mounting of the rear bar is obviously very crucial too. So it's got the 10mm plates that go all the way back. And it picks up on captive nuts inside the chassis. Unlike a 76 series, for some reason the Troopies don't have the bolts underneath, not sure why. So basically how we've made it even stronger is we loop around the rear body mount, and then there's extra captive nuts back there that we can get. And that also helps it stop tilting back, which is very important for these things because they're such a long car. And if you own a Troopy, you know that this is where you're gonna hit all the time. So this needs to be really strong. There's a little cutout here for an incorporated tow plug. You can fit a 7-pin flat and an Anderson plug next to it. For those of you who want to run a 12-pin or something hectic like multiple Anderson plugs or something like that, you're going to have to put it either underneath or up behind your rear bar. There just simply isn't the space to get it in here. It's very tight already to fit a 7-pin. But yeah, if you are running a 7-pin, it's a really good, safe spot to do it. Even if you were running a 12-pin, you can put that down here and maybe put your Anderson plugs up here. I don't know. It's up to you what you want to do. That's pretty much it for down here. Obviously, we've got the return fold, which is our new style on all of our rear bars. It looks really good. These are Road Vision ADR approved tail lights. We've got Road Vision ADR approved reverse lights. That's pretty much it for down here. Just a really modern, sleek, strong tow bar for a Troopy. That's basically the whole point of this rear bar. So moving on to arguably what I think is the most important of this rear bar, of most of our rear bars, but especially on a Troopcarrier, the rear wing section. Now, sorry that this is a bit dusty. I didn't have a chance to wipe it all down, but I'm sure you guys can forgive me for that. So basically, our whole rear bar is made from 5mm steel. So it's a full 5mm construction, and then the chassis mounting plates are 10mm. So there's no 3mm going on in here, no 2 or 1, nothing weird like that. Basically what that allows us to do is we don't have to do anything funky with the design to make sure that it's not gonna fold. Because 5mm inherently just is much stronger than something like 3 or 2 or 1, it requires less workarounds. In saying that though, we still have these folds here, and folds equal strength if you didn't know, and then we have this return fold down here. Basically what this does, if you were to drop this on a rock, which happens very frequently, especially back here, now you're pushing straight on the edge of 5mm steel, and that's very, very difficult to bend that way. It's much easier to bend it in when you're hitting on the face, but hitting it on the edge like that is very hard. You may notice we've got a little chain point here for your mud flaps, so it's something that I would probably suggest to this customer is chain his mud flaps up to here so he doesn't run over them. Speaking of mud flaps, we've got an integrated mud flap mount over here, and that is fully welded into the wing, again giving it even more strength. Then it's kind of hard to tell on this car because the mud flaps are so big, but there is what is the most crucial part of the wings, which is our wing braces. And basically from in here, there's a bolt-on plate that goes back to the chassis. So if you smack this here, it's all tied together, and this isn't gonna push in like that and dent your whole panel. It also prevents it from getting pushed up back here, which is a very common thing on 70 series. With all the weight back here, it can do that, and it can punch into your guard. Not exactly ideal, so that is the best way to get around it, is having it bolted to the chassis up here, and obviously bolted to the chassis back here. It's got nowhere to go. Then we've got our quarter hoop protection here. These are optional, so you can choose to not have them. I heavily recommend them because it just provides more protection up here. I also think that they look really good. But yes, you can order them without them, but if you do order them without them, make sure that's what you want, because it's very, very, very difficult to add these afterwards. Honestly, you're better off buying a new rear bar than trying to add hoops, because you have to sandblast the whole thing, get all the powder coat off, which is really hard to get off. Then you have to add the hoop on, and then you have to re-powder coat it on. You basically, by the time you do all that, the cost is going to be pretty similar. So if you want the hoops, get the hoops. They're only 250 bucks. They're thick tubes, so they're really strong, and they're just integrated really nicely, really seamlessly. That's pretty much everything to do with the wing section. As you can tell, the Troopy is just massive, so you really need this to be strong, because this is where you hit all the time, no matter what. I really do think that this is the ultimate for the protection of your Troopy. All right, let's quickly touch on the carrier setup. So this is a completely modular setup, and it's more modular than a lot of other ones that you'll see on the market, and that's because basically your add-ons, like your jerry can, so this is a twin jerry can and a gas bottle, so you can fit a 4 kilo gas bottle here, and like spare wheel and stuff like that. They bolt on and off of the carrier arm itself. So you can take that off and then the arm is still there. So you can take that off and swap it around, because arms are specific to the side that they're on. So if you have a modular setup, but the jerry can is welded to the arm, you can't take that off and put it on the other side. It just doesn't work. So these, you can bolt them on and off. You can take the arms on and off very, very easily. And there's also a ton of things you can do with these. They're very strong. But basically, if you want to see just how strong they are, I've done this a few times. Now this car is so high, so I don't really know how I'm going to do this. You can actually stand in the jerry can itself. That is how strong it is. I'm not even on the arm, as you can see. So that's going to handle the weight of your jerry cans. Absolutely no problem. And also your spare wheel too. I can't stress enough about just how big this car is. It's absolutely massive. Jesus, luckily the guy who owns this is quite tall. Now obviously this already has the weight of a 35-inch spare, and it can take my weight, no problem at all. Which again, you over-engineer it so that it's gonna last. That is exactly what we've done. And how we achieve this is the stub of the carrier that's braced back to the chassis. So there's a whole bunch of gusseting going on in here that then brings it back to the chassis. So it just makes it super, super strong. And honestly, most rear bars, the carriers are where they fail. So again, that just brings me back to you wanna over-engineer it so that it's gonna last test of time, because if you're just cruising around on asphalt roads, like anything's probably gonna last that. But if you're out in the outback smashing corrugations or doing the Simpson Desert or beaches or things like that, it's very, very strenuous on not only your whole car, but especially the rear bar. Because you've got all this weight going up and down like that, give it a few thousand Ks of really rough corrugations and you're gonna start to notice what's strong and what's not. Speaking about how strong things need to be, that brings me to this latch setup. First thing you may be wondering is, Adam, why is there so much stainless going on and it's not powder coated? Well, we left it stainless because technically it's a wearable part. I don't mean wearable part as in it's gonna break. I mean, if you powder coated this stuff, give it a year or 2 years time and the powder coat is gonna start peeling off because it's got contact and it's got friction. So it's just natural that that's gonna come off and it's just gonna look absolutely terrible. Even your latches in here, like if you powder coat this thread, then as soon as you turn it, you're gonna pull the powder coat off and it's just gonna look bad. Now the other thing is, that is super important, is this bit of stainless plate here. As you can tell, it is on an angle going up, and when it goes in, when you set it up correctly, this is adjustable up and down. You can see it doesn't actually go all the way in. It sits on that other bit of stainless plate here. Then when you do it up, it's minor because there's no jerry cans in here, but it actually pushes up on that, which means that the weight of this section here is now pushing down into the bar. Now, as I said, this doesn't have jerry cans in it, but imagine if this had 40 kilos of water in it. And then you've also got your spare tire side, you put a bin bag on the back, it gets very heavy. Now, instead of the rear arm just floating over here and being allowed to do this, which again, I said in corrugations, that any form of movement like this, that's no good. That's gonna put stress back over there on your stub axle. So what we're doing essentially is locking it in place. It pushes up on it, but then it puts the weight down into the rear bar, which is obviously the strongest bit of the bar. And that's very crucial to the longevity of this bar and the carrier setup, and also prevents them from unlatching. If you're worried about them unlatching, you can put a pin in here, there's a little hole. I've never had any carriers of ours unlatch. As long as they're set up right, you've got no dramas. Now the other part of the carrier is if you order it with carriers, gas struts are included, because honestly, I think it's silly to not have gas struts. Then our setup here is actually very simple. Inside of here is standard trailer bearings, so you can get them anywhere. They're easy to maintain. This billet dust cap just pops off, and then it's got a little C-clip in there and just one big nut. You take that off, and then the whole arm can just come up and out. So there's a billet dust seal underneath down here too. No dirt or anything ever gets into these. They look really good, they work really well, and they're very easy to use. If you order with no carriers, you will still get the stub in the rear bar, and we'll send you sort of like a sleeve, like basically imagine this but without the arm. So you have a sleeve that goes over the stub. You need to do that because if you don't, then your stub will start getting some surface rust because it's meant to be inside of here with grease. But yeah, super simple setup. It works super well. When it's nice and cleaned up, it's nice and shiny and I really like it. And honestly, who doesn't like a bit of machined billet? It's just super nice. Got our bump stop here. This is adjustable, so you can just undo this bolt, push it further out. The further you push it out, obviously the less it's gonna open. On a Troopy here, you can basically just have it at the max.
So something I forgot to talk about when I was filming this video was actually the weight of the rear bar. Now, the bar base, now stick with me with this one. The bar base itself, so no carrier, it's just the base, that's 68 kilos. Now, just hold on, because I know you're like, whoa, that's a lot of weight. Did you know that the Toyota genuine tow bar itself weighs 41.5 kilos. I don't know about you, but that's just insanely heavy. 41 kilos just for the tow bar itself. Obviously, this rear bar has the incorporated tow bar, so therefore the net weight that you're actually adding to your Troopy over running the genuine tow bar is only 27 kilos. Now, I reckon that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. It's Australian made, it's super strong, it's got a rated tow bar, it's got really strong modular carriers. Strong wings, braced wings, made out of quality material, 5mm steel, 10mm steel, ADR approved taillights. I don't know, it's the whole package. What more could you want on a Troopy rear bar? I honestly don't know. One thing whilst I'm looking at it, the number plate light is tucked up in here because some people just don't know that it's there. So there is a number plate light up in there. If you're running two spares, we've got a little number plate mount that goes off the spare wheel carrier so you can still run your number plate. I don't know, I really don't think there's much else. The spare wheel carrier, I'm just going off the top of my head here. The spare wheel carrier can shift in and out for different offsets. Obviously that's a 35 on the back, so it does fit a 35. And that's a brand new 35 as well, so it's quite big. If you want, we sell wiring looms for these things too. It's completely up to you and how good at wiring you are, but basically the wiring loom, there's a plug in the back here, and basically you plug it into there, run it to the lights, it's got plugs on it and you plug it straight in. It comes with the 7-pin trailer plug as well. So if you don't like wiring and you're putting this on yourself, I mean, it's 300 bucks. and it can save you a lot of time, and then you're not going to burn your car down too. So that's a good start. Because trust me, I've seen some of your wiring out there. It's pretty shonky. I've been guilty of it back in the day, but I mean, we've all been there. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching. Leave your comment down below of what you think of this bar. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.